Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and today this will be part one of a two-part episode, basically, you can say. We'll go to a little free agent preview. We'll do one episode this week, quarterbacks, running backs. Next week, we'll do wide receivers, tight ends to get you into the free agent market. Because after that, these 2 weeks are over, and the free agents will start signing the week of March 12th already. So, time to do a little preview. Maybe we'll throw some random guesses out there, see what happens. Maybe we'll be right on one or two. So, it's all speculation, though. Unless, Jeff, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know about you. So, don't take these too seriously, because we don't really know. We're just going to try to, I guess, see what we think would be good fits for some players. So we're just going to get right into it. We're going to start with quarterbacks. Some of the top guys out there. So we got, you could say, Jimmy Garoppolo already off the board, re-signed with San Francisco. So the top quarterbacks on the board are going to be Kirk Cousins and Drew Brees. Drew Brees, don't need to really talk about. He's going to stay in New Orleans. But Kirk Cousins, Jeff, what do you really think is going to happen with him? Because there are so many options out there.
Yeah, more than I thought. Even today, I was reading an article about how the Vikings are going to be, in the running for signing Kirk Cousins, which Case Keenum did well for him. They still had Bridgewater, who will be a free agent as well, but he's a young guy. If they, them more than anyone else knows the kind of tools he has. So the fact that they'd be interested, and they're going to have to pay Kirk Cousins a lot of money. So the fact that they're interested in him makes me believe that Bridgewater is not the go-to guy. And Keenum is probably their second choice there then. I still feel, whoever gets Kirk Cousins has to have a huge payroll in order to do so. But I still feel the best landing place is Denver. Because if you're going to pay that kind of money, you're doing it so you can get the most out of every other player. And I feel like the window is closing for Denver's wide receivers and some of the other players that they have. But it would be really interesting now that Minnesota's in the running, because if they could lock Kirk Cousins down, they would have a crazy young offense all the way through. That would be very, very good for years to come. So, and that defense is relatively young too, and they are super full of studs. So that is actually a very interesting development, and I could see how Kirk Cousins would have no issue going to Minnesota.
I think Minnesota's the only team that can really challenge to get Kirk Cousins, I feel like. I don't see the Jets thing happening. If he goes to the Jets, that just shows that he completely right now only cares about the money, which I don't think that's a Kirk Cousins thing.
Well, I think he's going to get paid no matter where he goes.
And he's got paid pretty well the last 2 years. I think at this point, he needs to win. He's been a good quarterback with a team that is decent at... Guess what I'm playing. It's been decent at times, but, not really great. I think he needs to go to a good situation. In Denver, I thought was that. I thought that was the best option because of the great defense, or what was a great defense. Don't know if they still are. We still seem to think they are. And good receivers. But... Minnesota's a better version of Denver at this point. Minnesota has a great defense, probably better than Denver right now. Minnesota has great receivers, probably better than Denver right now. Minnesota has a better running game than Denver right now. If all things are equal and the money's equal, I think he goes to Minnesota if they truly want him. I don't know. This wasn't an option, I thought. I thought Denver. I didn't think Minnesota would do it, but it makes sense because Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, and Teddy Bridgewater, they're okay. Kirk Cousins is better than all of them. So I like the Vikings option. I think that's a great option for him. I don't want to see it, being a Lions fan. I don't want Kirk Cousins with the Vikings. Give them a competent quarterback, a really good one. Because Case Keenum, is he really that good? Look what he did this past year. I think it's just the team around him.
That's very true. You look at the weapons he has, they are pretty crazy. But still, he did fine, and he was serviceable at the Rams too. I think he's always going to be underestimated. Do I think he's the key going, down the stretch for the Vikings? No, but I think he would be fine if they didn't end up getting Kirk Cousins. I think people are kind of just because he's not a star doesn't mean that he can't get it done. I mean, we've seen far less quarterbacks win Super Bowls with good defenses.
Yeah. I think if it comes out to, I think I'm going to still put my money on Cousins to Denver. That's what I'm still going to do. Even though I don't feel like I hear the talk about that. I just hear now Vikings. I heard Jets, that kind of thing. But
yeah, and you hear Browns too. And basically Browns and Jets both have a buttload of cash to spend. That is not going to be a concern for them. They will throw all of the money at him. So it's going to be, where can he go to get paid the most and still have a chance of winning? I do have to say, if the Browns or Jets truly, showed him their plans and how they're going to build a team around him, maybe that money would be worthwhile. Because what is it? The Browns have like over $100 million to spend or something crazy.
Insane, yeah.
And Jets have a lot too. I think they have like 75, 80. And every other team has much, much less. Like enough to buy him and then get a few free agents, maybe one or two. Like it is going to be a drastic jump down. So he would have to be the only piece if you're going to those teams. And right now, either Denver or Vikings, he really is the only piece they need. They don't need anyone else necessarily. But once again, money talks. So him at this point, this is going to be the biggest payday he's going to be able to get, I have a feeling. You sign a long-term deal. I don't blame him if he goes for the money. And let's be honest, Browns, as bad as they were, I did like some of the moves they made. I think they're starting to go in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And I think they are much improved if they go out and get a quarterback instead of trying to draft one, because they're terrible at it. And you can actually put those picks towards people that can play immediately, like defense. You could actually spend one on running back and get Saquon Barkley then with one of your top 5 picks. I think that there's a lot of upside if they're able to land Kirk Cousins. I don't know if that makes them anywhere near a contender in the next couple of years, but it is a huge swing in the right direction. But once again, that's all up to Kirk Cousins whether or not he would actually want to take that risk on a team that has never been good and been really, really bad in the past decade.
It's definitely going to be interesting. We haven't had quarterbacks on the market like this in a while, I feel like. There's last year, what was it? What do you have, like Mike Glennon and like
we say that, but who? I mean, okay, Kirk Cousins.
I mean, like a Kirk Cousins. Like there hasn't even been like a Kirk Cousins out there,
which is crazy. And the fact that they're all getting paid this much, Garoppolo.
Yeah.
The fact that he is the highest paid player in the NFL is mind blowing to me.
One thing that actually shows that Blake Bortles is a terrible quarterback. Do you see his deal? It wasn't that special. He got 3 years, $54 million. They re-signed him.
Well, man, that's probably smart of the Jags though, because they're trying to keep everyone else.
Like he's that's not Garoppolo, Stafford, Derek Carr money.
No, I don't think they have that money to spend, honestly.
But, just talking about other. Well, like the Blake Bortles thing, actually, I saw a great stat about him. Is there was something like it was from Kean Fahey on Twitter. Is he does a stat called interceptable passes. So because sometimes players they just it should have been intercepted. It's a terrible throw. It just wasn't. And, the Jaguars. I don't know how I got into Bortles, but the Jaguars built their offense around not letting Blake Bortles lose it for them and, that kind of thing. And he still led the league, I think, he was second in the league in interceptable passes with 35 interceptable passes. The guy's terrible.
Oh, my God.
He's not good. But, Kirk Cousins is going to be interesting, though. I still think it's going to be Denver. Minnesota is interesting, though, if they really have the money to pay him. And they just move on from the rest of them. They can, though. All 3 of those other guys are free agents.
And what blows my mind, too, is I was looking at this, just seeing... getting estimated how much cap room each team has. And so let me just run down the options for him. And actually, funnily enough, Vikings is not on this list. So this is probably before they were in the running. But it looks like, if this is correct, the Browns have an estimated $110 million. Jets have about $80 million to spend, and then it jumps down, and like the Bills might be interested because they're always looking to get away from Tyrod Taylor, but estimated about $29 million cap room. Broncos 27, and then the Cardinals, which we threw their name because they're going to need a new quarterback, they only have $9 million, which is who in the heck are they paying?
They're gonna have to get rid of somebody.
Yeah, what is happening on that one? So they're going to be stuck with I don't even know who. I guess draft a rookie and pray, but. So that kind of shows you. I mean, I think Broncos, Vikings, Jets, Browns, all still in the running. But I don't know how much the Vikings have, but they have to be kind of on the cusp of his favorite team along with the Broncos. And then, now, who do you like better, the Jets or the Browns, if he just went money?
I think Browns. I don't have any confidence in the Jets at all. I really don't for some reason. So I'd go Browns.
I don't either. What is
weird,
the upside? I mean, I guess the upside for that is, first of all, you're going to make $27 million a year and you're in New York.
Yeah, but
you could get more endorsements. You could even supplement it that way.
I just don't see
that
a
would be
path
pretty
for
cool.
them. I don't.
I don't either. I don't have who's some young guys that they have on their team.
The Jets. I would have said Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, right.
Maybe,
Robbie Anderson and Nunwa.
I mean, those guys could be. It's just Anderson. You got to see if the guys can stay, not suspended.
I know they were talking about they have a high pick and they could get someone.
But the Browns, Josh Gordon would be nice to throw to.
Josh Gordon, Corey Coleman,
Yep.
Njoku.
Yeah.
And then
if
they did get, say, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, something like that.
If you did get him, and then you could also spend the rest on defense.
Yep.
I mean, it would be a drastic change. And remember, Gordon didn't play. Coleman was hurt. Njoku was a tight end rookie. And I don't know why that running game was so bad, probably because they couldn't pass. And they had Kaiser behind center. So, I don't know. Maybe that's not as bad of a landing spot as we originally thought, but it's still way scarier than going to Denver or, Minnesota.
All right, some other quarterbacks.
That do not matter.
there are starting jobs open, though. Like, the Cardinals' job is open. And I hear actually I see some rumors about it could be Sam Bradford as like a
Band-Aid.
Yeah, kind of a thing, a couple year thing. It's almost kind of like they did with Carson Palmer originally. Yeah. Arizona does that. They Kurt Warner, later in the career, Carson Palmer, they kind of do that. I could see maybe someone like him. AJ McCarron, he's now a free agent. I can see him going to the Browns if it doesn't all work out. They tried to trade for him.
They keep talking about this guy, but I really don't know why.
Is it going to be a Mike Glennon again? That kind of situation?
It could be. I mean, I guess they're hoping that it's going to be Garoppolo, and we're still hoping or assuming Garoppolo is everything that we thought he was, but
McCarron's 27, so he's only a year older than Garoppolo. Garoppolo's already 26. Now McCarron might be something out there, but then you got Bridgewater. Is Bridgewater done?
I think he will end up on a roster just so you can kind of wait and see, but he's not going to get a payday or being a starter by any chance.
And let's see. So basically the Vikings, I think the Vikings, it feels like to me like it's Case Keenum would be the guy over the other two, over like Bridgewater, if they don't get Cousins. The Jets, I have no idea if they don't get Cousins, what the heck's they're going to do. No idea. I don't know if it'll be a 1-year thing where they go try to get maybe they bring back McCown for a year. I don't know. It's all up on the board. McCown's out there, 39 years old, still going to try to get another job 1 more year. That he's had an interesting career where he's 39, still going, and he's not bad, really. He's just never been on a good team.
Yeah, he did well last year.
But the rest of the quarterback, that's about it for guys who might actually do something. Jay Cutler's out there. Yay.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes to the Jets for a year.
I could see the Jets doing that.
That could be what happens.
And that's the question. If they don't get Kirk Cousins, AJ McCarron, they tried to trade for him before, but I have a feeling they'd have to overpay for him.
Yep.
You mentioned it. So it's what do you do? For that team,
I just go young.
You either go young or you do just go, Band-Aid. Like what if you sign McCarron, say, which is relatively young, 27 is pretty young for a quarterback. If you overpay him, though.
See if there's something there, maybe.
Yeah, but you have to pay to find out.
Yep. It's going to be, this is the interesting thing. It depends on what Kirk Cousins decides, and then everyone else will fall around it. It's all, the market's up to Kirk Cousins right now. It completely is. Because all those teams would want him, and then once he decides, then we can figure out the rest. So.
Yeah. And now, how late in a career do people really usually play? Because it's starting to get interesting with quarterback because you can play very late into your career. Tom Brady is 40?
Mm-hmm.
You have Drew Brees, who is going to be 40, and he's going to play for another couple of years. And then you have and then Josh McCown, 39.
He's still out there.
So this is a question. You have someone like Case Keenum, who is being kind of thrown to the side by a lot of these teams, it feels like, even though he did very well last year and even for the Rams did fine. He's going to be 30, or he'll be 31. Yeah. You could have him for another 5 years easy, right?
Really could. Once these players hit 30 now, quarterback doesn't really, that's no big deal.
And also, I mean, in that case, if he does show that he can be a quarterback and he doesn't need to run around, Teddy Bridgewater is still only 25 years old.
He's going to be interesting to see if somebody takes a chance on him, or if he just goes back to Minnesota and like a one-year deal or something.
If I was the Jets, I probably would get like do one more McCown year, and then maybe put like Bridgewater and then try one more young guy like behind him and just test him out for the year. You know what I mean? Find if there's anything there, because I think that's better than overpaying for someone.
Yep.
Because I haven't seen McCarron play at all. And somehow he's like the golden child still.
No one really has. No. Not since what, Alabama?
Yeah, and did he really have to do? I mean,
he didn't have to do much there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to running backs. Got a lot of quarterback talk actually out of like one or two players. So
yeah,
running backs. All right, we got the top guy, Le'Veon Bell. I expect him to go absolutely nowhere. I think he's staying in Pittsburgh. I don't think there's any chance that he moves on anywhere else. Do you even think it's a possibility?
No, I don't.
It's just not. I'm not even gonna. If it happens, that's going to be the biggest story by far. I just see nothing changing with that. I think Bell's going to be there. So the other guys we got. Carlos Hyde's a free agent. There's no real clear indication on what San Francisco wants to do with him right now. If I had to put my money on it, I still think he ends up back there. But I don't think it's a sure thing. I even hear talk about the Lions a little bit. That's one team I've heard a little bit about that maybe he could go. There's maybe the Colts, because it looks like they are moving on from Frank Gore now. They're not going to bring him back. And if they don't, actually think that Marlon Mack can do it, bring in somebody like Carlos Hyde. I mean, what do you think here? You think he's staying with San Francisco? Is that kind of what you're leaning, or do you think he's actually going to move on?
I really don't know how much money Carlos Hyde is even going to go for. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling if he demands to be... I feel like running back has taken a huge hit money-wise in the past few years.
Yep.
But I feel like if he's really stubborn about it, I don't think San Francisco is in love with him. I think they can move on very, very easily. I feel like it will eventually get a done deal. I think the odds are he stays with San Fran. But I don't know. That whole situation is so bizarre, and they're rebuilding. I think that to step away from a 27, about to be 28-year-old running back is probably almost smarter for the organization, even though he's definitely talented enough to play for another couple of years for him. But so actually, no, I'm leaning towards. Actually, I do lean towards them not signing him, but it's really a 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I've had no clear indication on stuff that what's going to happen with him. So it is weird. His age, he's a little bit older than you might think too. Like you still feel like you're waiting for him to get going, and he's already 27.
Yeah, and he's already had a bunch of injury concerns. So I really don't know how much his contract would be, and that's the big determining factor. But if I was him and they're not willing to pay me, it's probably better for him too. Like you have your last big contract, you get whatever you can. I don't know. And there's a lot of running backs out there that can, be fine in the backfield. I mean, just to name a few other ones, you still have Deion Lewis, Jerick McKinnon, Isaiah Crowell. All of those guys would be fine. So, who is going to go for cheaper than the other one? That's probably who I would sign if I was like San Fran.
Yeah, I agree. And Deion Lewis, that's like the next guy here. I think he's going to move on from the Patriots. Not necessarily he's moving on from the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to move on from him because if he wants any kind of money at all, I don't feel like they're going to pay him.
They don't pay anyone but Tom Brady.
And why would they pay Deion Lewis? Because James White can kind of do the same thing. Not quite as. I think Deion Lewis would have been great and been a great fantasy option if he stayed in New England, but that just doesn't seem to be what's happening.
No. And I feel like we have to talk about this before we talk about where anyone else could go, because Rex Burkhead is also a free agent. Yeah. Do you think one of them will stay and the other one will go?
I think Burkhead stays because I don't think he's demanding any kind of big contract out there or getting a bigger contract. So I think Burkhead stays and Lewis leaves and Burkhead gets a bigger role then next year.
Yeah, I would really dig that in fantasy because he was kind of a sneaky play that turned out to be very, very good.
And Lewis is an interesting one. I mean, there's places he could go. if he leaves the Patriots and maybe get a role if a team thinks he could be a main back. Like Tampa needs a running back. Colts need a running back. He could, maybe one of those spots he comes in. Shoot, maybe he goes to the 49ers if they don't bring back Hyde. Maybe they want him out there for that kind of role. There's a lot of potential options out there. No one has an idea of what he could do. It's just going to be the same, teams here that need running backs, but I'm leaning towards him leaving the Patriots for sure and Burkhead staying. That's where I think I'm going to go with these two. They're both 27 years old as well, actually. So they're already getting up there. Some other guys, Jerick McKinnon. Looks like he's moving on from the Vikings as well. I think he wants a bigger role. And with Dalvin Cook coming back, with Latavius Murray still there, he would still have a role, but not what he wants. So I think he's going to look for a starting job somewhere. And I've heard some people talk about. There's a lot of different places here. The one thing is I actually heard the Titans. That's a weird one because they'd be moving on from Murray, and then it'd be like McKinnon / Derrick Henry.
Oh, that's actually kind of a cool combo because McKinnon would be the obviously back that catches out of the backfield, and so that's okay. And then Henry could be the primary guy.
Yeah, that's kind of where they could go with that. I've heard the Raiders as an option for McKinnon as well. That seems strange to me because they feel like they have a couple of those kind of guys. Maybe not as good as McKinnon.
Yeah, I guess they're still moving away from that. I don't like that one near as much.
That's one I've heard as well. I haven't heard much talk other than those currently. And again, San Francisco gets thrown out there in like every single one if they move on from Hyde. So I've heard a little San Francisco, but I think McKinnon could be good if he gets put in the right spot. I actually think he could be an interesting option fantasy wise next year if he's actually in a good role and doesn't have to be the guy getting 20 carries, but if he can get in a spot where he gets 10 to 15 carries and still gets a bunch of catches, he could be interesting.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of his, and I think it's more because I don't see a tremendous amount of upside. I think he was on a good team last year, and he showed flashes, but they've always been talking about how athletic the guy was, and I feel like he's an athlete, but he was never truly a good running back in the NFL. I don't know. He just never excites me in the way that everyone else kind of talks about him.
Yep. Yeah, maybe another one I'm seeing is the Colts. Of course, you're going to get these same names every time. But wherever McKinnon goes, he's not going to be the main guy. He's going to be a compliment to somebody else, or be a 50-50 kind of committee type role. Another guy, Isaiah Crowell. I hear very, very little talk about Isaiah Crowell.
Which is pretty mind-blowing to me because I think this guy is probably one of the more intriguing backs that is a free agent. I mean,
he's only 25 years old.
He's younger. He's already proved he can do it on a bad team.
That he's interesting. I hear no talk about it. None. None.
I mean, last year I totally understand, but they were bad. They were a bad team. The fact that he only got 2 touchdowns with 206 rushes is pretty mind-blowing, but he still averaged, with a bad team, 4.1 yards a carry. So, and the year before that, 4.8 with 7 touchdowns. So I think there is still something there. I think he's a young guy. I think if he went to a better team, I think he might be kind of someone good for say the Colts or someone like that. And that way you can have a tandem back between Mack and Crowell. But I think there's other places that he'd probably be better suited. If he doesn't get paid, I could see a team like the Patriots scoop him up and then he turns into a bruiser for them to, be on the other side of Burkhead. But I think someone will probably pay him a little more than that.
Then another guy, not currently on the list because he's not officially a free agent yet, but C.J. Anderson. Looks like he's going to be released from Denver.
Oh, that's interesting.
And some talk is it looks like the Dolphins could possibly be interested. They had been before, and then he stayed with Denver. So that's an interesting spot. Yeah, it looks like they are going to move on from him. So I don't know if what Denver's going to do is it Devontae Booker? Is he who they're going to go with? I mean, maybe.
I guess, yeah.
It sounds like they might try. Maybe they, and you can kind of see some of that going on last year towards the end. They seem to be using Booker more and more, and Anderson a little bit less. Anderson's an interesting guy. I don't know. I don't know what to think about
and maybe they go after someone like, one of these better pass catching backs. Maybe they go after Deion Lewis or McKinnon like we already talked about, and then Booker as a bruiser. And then obviously they're looking to get a better quarterback. that might be better than keeping C.J. Anderson and Booker, who I feel like are very similar players. So you probably just have less options when you're trying to come up with plays. Maybe that is part of it. I don't know, because I never thought C.J. Anderson was that bad.
No, I
he's
didn't
been
either.
up and down,
Yeah.
but
no, they're moving on from C.J. Anderson. So the Dolphins thing is one thing I've heard. Other than that, who knows? I don't think he's probably going to get a starting job, like to be the guy who's just the starter. That's not a C.J. Anderson thing.
No,
right
I
now.
don't think so.
Some other guy. I mean, Frank Gore is out there. I mean, is this the end of the road?
I would guess.
Yeah, is someone gonna bring him back for it?
They bring him back. I just don't see. If I was Frank Gore, I just assume that, I don't want to go to another team for 1 year and ride the bench. But who knows?
You go to like a very, very good team and you just know you're like the second, third guy.
When we say that, watch the Patriots will reach out to him.
Wants him? I don't know. Alfred Morris is a free agent. Excited about that? No.
No, it's kind of funny. The moment when these guys actually showed me like something kind of flashes in my head, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't seen that guy in 2 years. Like
exactly.
So no, I'm not. I mean, the same thing with Doug Martin is out there.
Yeah.
I feel like he's 29. He's older than I thought he was.
Right. And you keep waiting for him to do it, and it's just 29 years old. Maybe he could be the Colts' new running back. That's something that gets thrown out there, but probably not. There's actually a bunch of teams that need a running back, though, you would think. And it's going to be interesting to see who becomes a starter somewhere. That maybe somebody we're not thinking. All these guys are similar. There's a lot of similar, talented guys here.
Yeah. And one of your what you thought was going to be a breakout year, Eddie Lacy down here.
27 years old.
Still a young guy.
He's done. It's over for Eddie Lacy. I'm pretty sure it's over.
I don't doubt it.
Like, I just don't think he'll be on a team next year.
Jeremy Hill, for as much promise as he showed, only 25. I really have no idea.
Maybe he could catch on somewhere. That I'm not completely out on him. Just because he's not like a great talent,
but he's younger.
Why couldn't he be like a LeGarrette Blount? Like, I don't think he's any worse than LeGarrette Blount is. And LeGarrette Blount's been able to get a good career for himself and decent free agent or just a different fantasy option.
LeGarrette Blount's like, I have 2 Super Bowl rings.
Right? Why can't Jeremy Hill be that kind of player for somebody? Should go to the Patriots. Be that guy for the Patriots. Anybody, I just say go to the Patriots and feel like you'll
I know, right?
Then some other ones like Orleans Darkwa, he's a free agent. What are the Giants going to do? That's another team. They need a running back. I feel like they're looking at drafting somebody.
Yeah, I think they definitely are. They still have Galloway. Are they going to stick with him for another year? I don't remember who was even their starter at the end of the year. They went through five backs.
I think it was Darkwa. And let's see, they had Paul Perkins lost he disappeared very early. Darkwa was there. Wayne Gallman.
Gallman, did I say Galloway?
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
Joey
Gallman.
Galloway?
Yeah, I'm the wrong guy.
Wayne Gallman, I don't think he's anything.
No, I don't know.
So they need to draft somebody or find something else out there.
Well, I mean, once again, if I was them, there's plenty of guys here that will be fine if they don't end up, if they aren't able to have a high draft pick.
Yep.
I think there's a handful of guys that could do fairly well there. Maybe that's another place where you could get Carlos Hyde, actually.
There's a lot of teams that could use it, though. I mean, maybe Denver could. Tampa needs somebody. Detroit could probably use somebody. San Francisco might need somebody. Colts might need somebody. There's all these teams, they might need somebody, or they could go with the next option. It's weird. I can't wait. Free agents can be interesting. There's a lot that could happen this year. Feels like more than normal. So I think that's it for running backs. I don't think there's some other names here that are just not gonna. Who cares? I mean, Christian Michael's still out there. That guy. It didn't happen.
Yeah, I think the only other name on this list that might have might end up on a team, I would say, is Damian Williams, just because he's 25 and you don't know yet.
Maybe he just goes back to the Dolphins and gets that role that he was starting to carve out before his injury. So
yeah.
All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back next week. We'll do part 2, wide receivers and tight ends. We'll talk to you guys next week.